As we're going to talk about using the discriminant to determine the number of real solutions or real zeros, because solutions are the same as zeros, so we'll use those interchangeably. But a discriminant just lets you know how many solutions you're going to have. Now let's take a look at some definitions. First, a discriminant is the value that tells us the number of and types of solutions a quadratic equation will have. Okay, so it's going to give us the number of solutions. So first, we need to have it in standard form. So it has to be set equal to 0 when we go to do the discriminant. Okay, and our discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. That is the formula for the discriminant that tells us how many solutions or real solutions we have. Alright guys, so if your discriminant is positive, it's going to be 2 real solutions. To give you a visual, that's because it actually crosses, so if I graphed the quadratic, it would cross twice. Okay, so if it's positive, it's 2 real solutions. Okay. If your discriminant is 0, so if you end up getting 0 as your discriminant, that means you're going to have 1 real solution because it would only cross it once. Okay, and negative would be no real solutions. If you have a discriminant that's negative, it's actually going to be an imaginary solution, but we will deal with those later. Today we're just talking about real solutions, so if your discriminant is negative, it is no real solutions. So the big thing, positive, is 2 real solutions. 0, so if it equals 0, it's 1 real solution. And if it equals a negative, it is no real solutions. So that's the big thing out of those 3 things. The graph was just something visual to help you, but this is the main thing that we're coming with today. So let's look at an example. So remember, our discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So I'd like to go ahead and just write my a, my b, and my c. So my a, well, what's in front of that x squared? Remember, this is ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so a is 1, b is 2, and c is 5. Signs do matter, so make sure you're paying attention to positive and negatives. So I'm going to have 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5. Okay, so I just plugged my b, a, and c in. I'm just going to plug this in exactly how I see it in the calculator. Okay, so you can even do this if you want, but then we'll plug that into the calculator. Okay, so that ends up being 4 minus 20, which is going to give me negative 16. Okay, it just wants to know what the discriminant is. So the discriminant is negative 16, and then the type of solutions, well, there's going to be, it's negative, so there's going to be no real solutions. Okay, let's look at the next example. Alright, so if we look at this, the first thing I notice is that my equation does not equal 0, so I need to move that 36 over. So I'm going to have x squared minus 12x. I'm going to add 36 to both sides, so then that would set equal to 0. So now I can do my a, my b, and my c. My a is 1, my b is negative 12, my c is positive 36. Okay, so when I do the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, so I'm going to have negative 12 squared, make sure you put that in parentheses, minus 4 times 1 times 36. Okay, you can actually put this directly in your calculator, and that's the way I suggest, but make sure that you put this negative 12 in parentheses, or else it's going to give you the wrong answer. Okay, but since I don't have a calculator in front of me, I know that 12 squared is 144. Then minus 4 times 36, that's going to be 144, and since it's a negative times a positive, it's a negative 144. So I subtract those, it's 0. Okay, so that's a 0, so we know that this is going to be 1 real solution since it equaled 0. Okay. Alright, so if I take a look, I kind of notice this one's a little different. Remember, it needs to be ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, right away equals 0. So right away I notice it's missing a term. It only has 2. It's missing the bx term. So I have an a, my b, and my c. So my a is negative 2. B, since it's missing, it's just 0. C is negative 5. Okay, so now we plug that into the discriminant. So remember, b squared, so 0 squared minus 4 times negative 2 times negative 5. Okay? So if I plug that into the calculator, that ends up being a negative 40. Okay? Negative 40 is a negative number, so this is going to be no real solutions. No real solutions. Okay? If you did this not in a calculator, remember this would be 0, and then I have a negative times a negative is a positive, times one more negative would be a negative. So 4 times 2 is 8, times 5 is 40. 0 minus 40 is negative 40. Okay? So there's my discriminant, and it's no real solutions. Let's look at this last one. Okay, my A, my B, my C. So my A would be negative 1. B, since it does have a B term, would be 6, but it doesn't have a number, just a C, so that would just be 0. So then when I do this, I'll do 6 squared minus 4 times negative 1 times 0. Okay? So that ends up just, if I plug that into the calculator, this is a 6, not a B, by the way. That's just 36, and it's positive, so it's going to be 2 real solutions. Okay? If you want to write this as 2RS, and then you could put 1RS or NRS for real solutions, that's fine. Or just writing 2 real solutions is perfectly fine. Alright, exit ticket. So, solve example 4 by factoring. Does this match to what we know? Well, our last answer was negative x squared plus 6x equals 0. So I can actually factor this. I can factor out a negative x. So then I'm left with x minus 6. Okay. I set both of these equal to 0. Well, negative x equals 0. We'll divide both sides by negative 1. X is 0. And then the other one, set x minus 6 equals 0, so x equals 6. Okay. My two answers are 6 and 0. Okay. So, and I just did the discriminant. My discriminant on the last problem, number 4, was two real solutions. Well, I got my 2 real solutions right here. So that's just kind of a exit ticket, just kind of links that our discriminant is going to tell us how many solutions we had. All right, go ahead and start your practice problems.